Hello everyone, and welcome to my YNR Official 24 channel. Nikki Newman had spent countless nights pacing the dark hallways of the Newman Ranch, haunted by the glow of a single small object in her mind, the missing USB drive that contained Victor's most guarded, most dangerous obsession, the prototype of the self-learning AI program that could predict corporate behavior, manipulate markets, unmask embezzlement schemes, and track human patterns with frightening accuracy. Victor wanted to use it to secure Newman Enterprises' dominance, to ensure that no rival, especially no Abbott, could ever threaten their empire again. Yet Nikki, exhausted by years of corporate wars and the recent chaos surrounding Victor's health, had reached a breaking point where she no longer trusted the man she once fought heaven and earth to protect. The entire program, the AI Victor treated like a secret weapon, like a digital super soldier, frightened her more than any enemy ever had. But the moment she learned that Jack Abbott could be destroyed if the AI ever completed its predictive model on Jabot's internal algorithms, she made a decision she knew would change everything. She would take the USB, the heart of the program, and get it out of Victor's hands before he could unleash it. Yet now that the truth was inches from the surface, everyone wanted to know one thing: where is the USB? Nikki had thought she hid it well. She had good intentions, or so she told herself as she slipped the tiny drive into the lining of her purse weeks ago, her hand trembling as she closed the zipper. She told herself she would safeguard it temporarily, that she would find a neutral third party, maybe even destroy the program entirely before it could ruin lives. But the second the USB left Victor's study, it became a curse she carried everywhere, a silent weight that grew heavier each day until she could barely keep her balance. She never expected Victor to start having stomach pains shortly after she switched his supplements to prevent him from having the stamina to pursue the AI project further. She never intended for the situation to spiral into a medical incident where Nate and the Newman security team began to suspect poisoning. And she certainly never planned to be the sole person who knew exactly where the AI program was, and what she had done with it. But secrets in Genoa City had a way of cornering their keepers, and Nikki was no exception. In the beginning she thought she'd succeeded. She snuck into Victor's study under the cover of night, deleted the backup logs, wiped the surveillance files, even faked a glitch in the home server so no one would suspect an internal breach. She told herself she was simply buying time, that she would talk to Jack, warn him, maybe finally call a truce between Newman and Abbott in a way Victor never would. But the moment she saw Victor bending over in pain the next morning, clutching his stomach as though the weight of 50 years of rivalry had finally crushed him from the inside, guilt surged through her with dizzying force. She brought him water. She pretended nothing was wrong. She lied. And then she lied again. First to Victoria, who questioned her calmly but suspiciously. Then to Nick, who wondered aloud how a glitch in the server only affected files related to the AI project. Then to Adam, who found the timing convenient and not at all accidental. But the worst moment came when Jack showed up at Society one afternoon to return a book Nikki had left at the Abbott mansion during a charity planning session. He smiled warmly, unaware of the storm inside her. Nikki felt the USB's outline against the fabric of her purse and knew she couldn't keep quiet forever. Not with Victor growing suspicious enough to interrogate employees. Not with Adam running his own secret investigation. Not with the AI code still active, alive, learning even from a distance. And so that night she poured herself another drink, her worst mistake, and rehearsed her confession in the mirror, speaking to her reflection as though it could forgive her. "I took it to protect you," she whispered, imagining Jack's confused, gentle gaze. "I took it because Victor was losing control." But when morning came, her courage dried up like morning dew under scorching heat. She hid the purse. She hid the truth. She hid everything but the guilt. Meanwhile, Victor's condition worsened. Nate ordered more tests. Victoria insisted they call in a specialist. Adam claimed someone sabotaged the supplements. Nikki wanted to tell them the truth, that she wasn't trying to hurt Victor, she was trying to save him from himself, but the USB had become symbolic, a dagger pointed at the throat of the Newman Empire, and she knew that revealing her involvement would devastate the family beyond repair. Yet secrets, like cracks in glass, eventually spread until they shattered the whole structure. First, Adam found a partial fragment of the AI code on the server, an auto-generated shadow file. Then Victoria discovered hidden timestamps showing someone accessed the program during the same hour Nikki left the ranch to clear her head. And then, her worst nightmare, Jack confronted her at Glowworm after hearing murmurs from Phyllis that Nikki had been acting strange around anything tech-related. He cornered her gently, with concern rather than accusation, asking whether Victor had crossed a line again, whether she was okay, whether there was anything she needed to tell him. Nikki broke. Not all at once, but with a slow, trembling collapse that started behind her eyes and spread to her shoulders, her breathing shaky as she clenched the table, unable to look at him. Jack reached out, touched her hand, and whispered, "Nikki, what's going on?" And she whispered back, "I did something I thought was right." She told him she needed absolute confidentiality, that what she was about to reveal could upend everything between Newman and Abbott forever. Jack promised. Nikki hesitated. Then, with a voice as fragile as glass, she said the words that would tear the veil from everything, "I took Victor's AI prototype. I stole the USB. I did it for you." Jack's face went blank, not angry, not grateful, but stunned, like a man suddenly aware of standing on thin ice. Nikki continued before he could respond, saying that the AI had modeled Jabot's entire 5-year projection plan and Victor intended to use it to undermine every Abbott strategy before it even launched. She said she panicked. She said she couldn't bear to watch another war, another blow, another corporate bloodbath that left everyone wounded. Jack finally asked the question he had to ask, "Nikki, where is the USB now?" That was the moment she froze. Because the one part she hadn't told anyone, couldn't tell anyone, was that she no longer had it. That the USB wasn't in her purse anymore. That somewhere between hiding it, drinking to numb the stress, and waking up with memory gaps she prayed weren't as bad as they seemed, the USB had vanished. That's when her confession turned into a desperate unraveling, the words spilling uncontrollably. She couldn't find it, she didn't know if someone took it, she didn't know if she misplaced it or dropped it or if someone followed her. Jack tried to calm her, but the more he reassured her, the more hysterical she became, admitting she might have destroyed it, or maybe not. Maybe someone else had it. Maybe Adam. Maybe Victoria. Maybe the security team. Maybe, and this terrified her most, maybe Victor himself found it and was testing her loyalty by pretending it was still missing. Jack said they had to retrace her steps. Nikki insisted that retracing wasn't enough because she had blackouts, gaps of time she couldn't account for. The pressure of the AI program, Victor's condition, and her guilt had triggered a relapse she hid behind bottled charm and trembling hands she kept out of sight. She confessed all of it in one breath, the supplements, the interference, the fear that Victor would obsess over the AI more than his health. Jack held her shoulders, steadying her as she cried that she didn't mean to poison him, she only meant to slow him down, just long enough to secure the AI. Once Nikki calmed, Jack realized the severity of the situation. The missing USB meant the AI program could be in anyone's hands. Adam's. Kyle's. Diane's. A Newman bodyguard's. Even someone outside the family power circles entirely. Victor, meanwhile, had grown restless and suspicious. He summoned everyone to the ranch, demanding answers, demanding loyalty, demanding control. When Nikki stepped into the room, Victor's eyes narrowed, not with anger, but with a chilling, calculated awareness. He asked her directly, "Where is the USB?" The question hung in the air like a guillotine. Nikki opened her mouth, ready to finally confess everything in front of everyone, but Jack, who had followed her inside, stepped between them, claiming responsibility for the technical confusion, to divert Victor's attention. Victor didn't believe him. Neither did Adam. Victoria watched Nikki closely, recognizing the guilt in her eyes. But before Victor could unleash further interrogation, Nate rushed in with Victor's latest test results, revealing that his stomach pain was not from poisoning, but from an undiagnosed ulcer worsened by stress. The room froze. Nikki collapsed into a chair, the partial relief mixing with fresh guilt that burned like fire. Victor demanded again, "Where is the USB?" And Nikki, shaking, sweating, terrified, finally whispered, "I took it. I hid it. I lost it. I don't know where it is anymore." Gasps filled the room. Adam's face darkened. Victoria looked betrayed. Nick looked heartbroken. But Victor said nothing at all. His silence was worse than any rage. Nikki told them everything, how she feared the AI, how she feared another Newman-Abbott war, how she meant to protect them all. And then, for the first time in her life, Nikki admitted she couldn't trust herself, that she needed help, that she had relapsed under the pressure. She apologized. She cried. She begged forgiveness. But still the one question echoed through the room, where is the USB? And then, just when the tension reached a breaking point, Jack noticed a small disturbance in the doorway, a shadow slipping away. A shadow that had been listening. A shadow that didn't belong to a Newman or an Abbott. A shadow that hinted the USB might not be lost, but stolen again. And with Nikki's confession hanging in the air, the chaos only grew deeper, darker, and far more dangerous than anyone realized, because whoever had the USB now had the power to destroy all of them. The moment that shadow slipped away from the doorway, Jack felt something in his gut twist, an instinct honed from decades of corporate warfare and family drama, something that told him this situation was far from contained, far from safe, far from anything anyone in that room was prepared for. Nikki's confession, raw and trembling, still lingered in the air like smoke from a recent fire, and everyone stood frozen, stunned not only by her admission but by the terrifying uncertainty of what came next. Victor finally spoke, his voice low, dangerous, the way it became when he shifted from husband to strategist, from lover to general of a silent battlefield. "Nikki, you lost the program." His tone wasn't filled with rage, worse, it was filled with knowing, as though he suspected there was more to the story. Nikki tried to answer, tried to steady her breathing, but Jack jumped in, trying to shield her from the verbal onslaught. "Victor, this isn't the time to interrogate her," but Victor cut him off with a cold glare that could have frozen stone. "This doesn't concern you, Jack." The room seethed with tension as the two men, longtime rivals, stood inches apart. But what none of them knew, not Victor, not Jack, not Nikki, was that the person who slipped away had been watching them for days, waiting for cracks to appear. And now, with the USB missing, those cracks were jagged and wide enough for anyone to exploit. Adam was the first to break the heavy silence after the shadow vanished. "Someone's playing us," he muttered, pacing, rubbing his forehead. "And whoever has that USB, if they realize what's on it, they could destroy Newman Enterprises overnight. Or worse." Victoria nodded, her expression sharpening with business instincts. "We have to treat this like hostile possession of sensitive corporate material." Nick added, "and like a family emergency," still watching their mother with deep concern. Nikki felt small under their stares, like every confession she'd made had peeled layers off her protection until she stood bare, flawed, frightened. Jack moved to stand beside her, grounding her with his presence. But Victor, ever calculating, had already moved 2 steps ahead in his mind. "Security will sweep the ranch. No one leaves. No one enters. There are only a few people who knew about this meeting. And fewer who could manipulate surveillance systems without detection." His eyes flicked to Adam, not accusing, but logically eliminating possibilities. Adam bristled. "Don't look at me. I'm not the only one around here who knows how to erase a security log." That comment boomeranged across the room. Nikki felt sick to her stomach. The relapse had damaged not only her reliability but her credibility, Anything she said from this point forward, even in truth, would be filtered through the lens of suspicion. "Who did you tell?" Victoria asked gently, almost maternally. Nikki shook her head, tears welling again. "No one. I swear. I never told a soul until Jack today." But Adam, unforgiving in moments like this, pressed harder. "What about during the blackouts? Do you even know where you went?" Jack stepped forward sharply. "That's enough." But Nikki whispered, "No, he's right to ask." "I wish I did know." Victor's eyes softened for the briefest moment, a flicker of the man who'd loved Nikki through storms unimaginable, but that flicker vanished quickly beneath the weight of the crisis. Suddenly, the ranch lights flickered. Once. Twice. A momentary blackout washed the room in darkness. Heartbeats spiked. Security guards reached for their belts. And then, lights snapped back on. But something was off. A faint hum vibrated through the walls, a technological pulse none of them recognized. Nate, startled, checked the hospital-grade monitor Victor had been wearing for precaution. "This might be nothing, or it might be a breach," he said tightly. Victor's jaw clenched. "Someone is in my system." Adam rushed to the wall panel, fingers flying over controls. "The server just rebooted, without authorization," he announced. "Someone's overriding access." Victoria paled. "Is it the AI?" For the first time since the confrontation began, pure fear crossed Nikki's face. She clutched Jack's sleeve. "I didn't activate it. I swear I didn't." Adam continued typing, sweat forming on his brow. "The program is pinging the server." Victor stepped closer. "Meaning?" Adam looked up, stunned. "Meaning the USB is plugged in somewhere in this house." The room exploded with shock. Nikki gasped, covering her mouth. Victor's eyes widened. Jack turned toward the hallway. Victoria whispered, Who would do that?" And then it hit Nick first, because he saw the empty chair near the side of the room, the one where Claire had been sitting earlier, listening quietly, pretending to merely observe Victor's condition as part of her new role helping him manage stress. Claire, with her new sense of loyalty, her desperate need to prove herself to Victor, her lingering trauma from her past manipulation under Jordan's control, her mind still struggled with boundaries, trust, intent. And worse, she had overheard everything Nikki said. "Where's Claire?" Nick shouted. The room froze again. Because Claire had vanished. And Claire had access to every corner of the ranch. And Claire believed, deeply, that protecting Victor was her life's purpose now. Nikki nearly fainted. No, she didn't, she wouldn't, but deep down, a horrible dread settled in her chest. Because Claire was unpredictable in the way only someone traumatized and eager to make amends could be, someone who might believe getting the AI running again would please Victor, restore trust, undo past mistakes. Jack steadied Nikki as Victor ordered his guards to sweep the house. Footsteps thundered down hallways. Alarms chimed softly. And deep beneath the ranch, in a maintenance corridor few people ever entered, Claire sat cross-legged on the cold floor, the USB plugged into a small portable terminal she'd carried with her, watching lines of code unfold like a digital prophecy. "I'll fix this," she whispered to herself, trembling but determined. "I'll make it right. Victor will trust me. I can help the family." But the AI program wasn't harmless. It wasn't a tool meant to be casually awakened. It was a learning system with modules designed to expand itself, replicate, analyze, and predict. Claire believed she was doing the right thing, the loyal thing, but she didn't understand what the program could do without supervision. Upstairs, Adam finally hacked into the incoming signal. "It's accessing external networks," he shouted. "It's reaching out for financial data, mergers, acquisitions, stocks, just like Victor designed it to do, but amplified." Someone triggered autonomous mode.